There's a Swedish author called Eliasson. He's written the roman of Olof, the little boy or young man who left the north of Sweden to go to Stockholm. And that is the equivalent of today going to Africa or the United States, I guess, for you. And he writes about Olof. There's a line which has been with me since I was 25. He said it was only when he, the key person in this novel, it was only when he dared be personal that he started to conquer the world. It's beautifully Swedish. Det var först när han vågade vara personlig som han började erövra världen. I don't know why I like this so much. Probably because we live in a world with so many words, with so much information, with so much back and forth arguments. Sometimes you need to stop and say, what is important? What do I stand for? What are my principles? What do I react to now? How can I accept being passive now? And then you have to dare be personal. I don't say you need to be private, but you need to show, here I am. These are my convictions. This is what I learned from my parents. This is what I learned from my experiences in life. This is what's in my heart. This is what I stand for. And that's not easy. For us Swedes, we tend to be so convinced that it is the rational arguments that are the most important ones. But I think that communication with people, and also in negotiations of the type that I have lived through, it's like seeing icebergs in the ocean. You see the white surface of the white top of the iceberg. But all of you know that 80% is below, and it's very dark. And under there is fear, suspicion, uncertainty, dreams, whatever. And that is also a fact of life. I wouldn't have said this 10 or 15 years ago, but looking back at my own experiences, I say it more loudly and clearly now. I remember my latest, I was about to say my last negotiation. My wife would have loved me to say that it would be my last negotiation. But I said my latest negotiation. That was Darfur, only 3 years ago, 2008. I had struggled to get the rebel leaders to unite. And we had finally succeeded in bringing 5 of the key leaders. From the beginning they were 15 to unite. And then finally they were brought down to 5. And they were sitting in front of me and my co-negotiator, Saddam from the African Union. And they had the same points of view of the issues. Power sharing, wealth sharing, and demobilization, which were the 3 issues in the negotiation. And I said to myself, piece of cake, they agree on the issues, but then they wouldn't agree anyway to go to the negotiations at that time. Why? Because they couldn't agree who was number 1 of the 5. They couldn't decide among themselves who was the man, because they were all men, sorry, to decide. And that stopped them from going to the negotiation table. Then I felt angry. Anger is a very healthy feeling, but never show it. It should be like a volcano in your stomach, or a generator. I felt very angry, and I remembered Eivind Johnson. It was only when he was personal that he started to conquer the world. So I said to them, all 5 were sitting in front of me, I don't want to talk about this further. I was tired of hearing this, that they couldn't decide about themselves. I want to tell you what I did last week. Oh, that's very consternating. I was in the camps where your relatives were. You know, out of 6 million people in Darfur, 2 million people were in camps at that time. And I had been to the camps where they came from. In other words, where their parents and mothers and sisters and brothers were. And they had, of course, during 3 years not had a chance to go to these camps, because they would have been shot at and killed by the Sudanese army. So I said it might be of interest for you to hear how things are inside those camps. I spent a week going to different camps. And I told them about the frustration among their parents, brothers who couldn't farm their land, about the women being suspicious at work and scared to go out and fetch water or firewood in order not to get raped. I told them about the kids who wouldn't get a good education, of course. And I maybe turned the screw a little bit too much. But I noticed they got shook, really shook up. So I ended, and I said, my God, I gone too far. I gone too far. But then 3 of them came to me afterwards, almost like a delegation, and stood in front of me very serenely, solemnly, and said, thank you very much. We want to thank you. We want to thank you that you were so personal, and that you told us that what really was driving you in this negotiation was not whether you should implement Security Council so-and-so, number so-and-so. It was whether you would succeed in bringing us together with our families so that we finally could go back to our villages. In order not to be too sentimental about this, I want to tell you that the two who did come up to me were very sullen, very negative. It's not that I've gone too far. But I think that was an example of sometimes stopping and saying, here I am, this is what I stand for. My absolute last words, ladies' words, my last words, not last word, oh no. What a situation. That's something with the press, my last words, famous last words. That's really funny, I think funny. I want to leave 2 words behind also, who are very important for me. I've been personal to the extent I'm telling what influenced. I read this quote from Hammarskjöld when I was 27. I read this book by David Nilsson when I was 25. And then I read Bertrand Russell. I won't give you the full quote, but he used so often in his book, looking back at his life, his autobiography, he used the word passion so much. And in those days, when I grew up, passion was a very un-Swedish word. Passion. Ja, inte i Sverige. Inte på utheten. But I think it's really something we need very strong. Strong engagement, our heart in it, our brain in it, our stomach in it, and really passionately doing something. Because there's so much that we do without passion. And I'll tell you one thing, if you do something without passion, it doesn't happen. But also, there is something beautiful that rhymes with passion, and that is compassion. Medkänsla. And if you combine passion with compassion, you have a pretty good guiding pole, 2 guiding poles in life. Because my view is that whatever you do, whether it's international mediation or whatever you do now or later on in your lives, whatever you do, without passion, nothing happens. But again, without compassion, the wrong things happen. So I suggest here that we, here in Lund, on this sunny day after the storm, decide that we should go ahead with whatever we do, with a good combination of passion and compassion. Thank you for inviting me.